Welcome to an online video in our courses Empirical Research Methodologies in IT and Digitalization. In this session, we will introduce the research design framework that we use in our courses. This framework is from our course textbook called Researching Information Systems and Computing. It is the basis for most of the assignments in our courses. It is therefore important to have a good understanding of this framework. This video is based on another video called Solving Practical Problems, the Research Cycle. I recommend that you watch that video before watching this one. You will find a link to that video in the notes section of this video. A short recap of the research cycle. Solving a practical problem often involves creating new knowledge about the problem's specific context. We start by asking some questions whose answers will eventually generate new context-specific knowledge about the practical problem. These research questions are addressed through solving research problems. Research problems can be solved using various strategies such as experiments, surveys, design, and case studies. Once the research problem is solved rigorously, the resulting knowledge can be used to answer the research questions. In this way, we contribute to the resolution of the practical problem. In this video, we will use the same practical problem from the other video. Imagine that you are working in the IT department of a large insurance company. Your boss asks you to find the best generative AI tool for your department. Our work with research methods in IT 310 and DT 8111 is based on the design research framework shown in this figure. This figure is figure 3.1 in chapter 3 of our textbook Researching Information Systems and Computing by Oates et al. This figure shows the parts that are necessary for doing rigorous research studies, information systems, software engineering, and computer science. This framework can help you answer simple or complicated research questions originating from everyday practical problems. Here you can see how the elements from the research cycle we discussed earlier correspond to the different parts of the research design framework. This is not an exact mapping. Also note that figure 3.1 from Oates et al. Does not explicitly show the iterative nature of research as evident from the idea of the research cycle. But implicitly we assume that most research is iterative. So what do the different parts of the design framework mean? Arguably, the most important part of the research design is to have relevant and important research questions to answer. Some examples are: what is really the problem? Whose problem is it? What do we already know about the problem? What meaning do we give to the phenomena that are part of the problem? Sometimes basic questions need to be answered before more in-depth and focused research questions emerge. For instance, to solve the task of finding the best generative AI tool for your department, we need to answer questions such as: what is generative AI? What types of generative AI are available? Who is using them and what have they experienced? Which are the challenges and needs in our department? Is Gen AI a potential solution to our needs? How? What are the risks? What are documented experiences about using Gen AI? How relevant are they to my context? What does existing research tell us about using Gen AI in contexts similar to our department? After this exercise, we might end up with one or several research questions that we want to answer first. For instance, what similar tools do we use in our department right now? This can be an important question to answer since Gen AI will eventually target the same practices. Once we have a set of grounded and rigorous research questions, we need to find the right strategy to answer these questions empirically. This exercise boils down to an iterative process consisting of two steps. The first step is to choose a research strategy. A research strategy is an overall approach to answer the research question. Different research questions need different research strategies. The next step is to think about how we will generate empirical data to answer our research questions. Data generation tools such as interviews, observations, and questionnaires need to fit into the strategy we have chosen. They also need to be practically and ethically possible to conduct. Let us take a look at our example research question. This question is about the practices of a broad group of users, and a survey might be the best way to answer it. Choosing a survey strategy allows us to select among several data generation methods. We can have short, structured interviews with the programmers in our department. We can send out a questionnaire to everybody and hope they will respond. We can design a series of structured observations, both physically in the office and digitally using system usage logs. These data generation methods will allow us to collect valid first-hand empirical data from the right context, which is our context. These data can then be analyzed to answer our research question. Once we have collected the empirical data from our interviews, questionnaires, and observations, we need to analyze the data to find out what they mean. The goal of this analysis is to give us a preliminary answer to the research questions, to allow us to reflect on the validity of our results. Do our data represent a valid picture of our department? Who did and did not answer our questionnaires? Do our programmers use tools that I didn't know about? Did our programmers use similar tools in the past that are now abandoned? Why? The answers we get and our evaluation of their validity will be fed into a new cycle of reformulating research questions, choosing new strategies, and collecting data. This cycle will stop when we are happy with the results or when we don't want to spend more resources. It is important to remember that research is seldom conclusive. New knowledge can always be generated to validate or invalidate existing knowledge. The research design framework we discussed in this section is taken from our course textbook, Researching Information Systems and Computing by Briony Oates et al. This video is a part of our courses IT 3010 and DT 8111. To learn more about these courses, go to the links provided by the QR codes in this slide.